Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Cabinet meeting held Wednesday, 23rd of June, 2021. Meeting will be recorded and made available to view on the Council's website. Thank you. To receive apologies, are they all recorded in the chat? I think they are. Councillor Phipps?
There's apologies from Councillor Andy Whitcomb.
Thank you very much. They can be recorded, Charlotte. Thank you. Okay, on to declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on the agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Does anyone have anything to declare?
Yes,
Mr. Tranter.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Robert Tranter, monitoring officer here at Caerphilly. Just for the sake of completeness, really, Leader, the final report talks about the Gwent response to COVID, and my wife works in the track and trace team at Torfaen, so I'm going to declare an interest just for the sake of openness. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tranter. That's duly noted. Okay, on to the items. Next item, excuse me, to approve and sign the following minutes held on the Cabinet held on the 9th of June. Then, if we can go through page by page, please. Okay, page 1, page 2, page 3. Oh, so I've got a hand up there. Okay, there seems to be a lag and a delay here, sorry, on my computer. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Is everyone happy with those? Can I have a mover and seconder for those, please?
Move.
Thank you very much, Councillor George.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Stenner. And a show of hands on those, please. Thank you. They're accepted. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is to note the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. Is everyone content with that? Are there any mistakes or anything or any additions that need to be included there? I can have a show of hands to say that you're happy with those. Thank you. Moving on to item 5. Okay, this is a bit unusual, chairing the meeting and introducing a report, but here goes. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the Regeneration Board projects proposals. And as you'll see from the report, is to note the allocation of £10,000 to the Licence to Innovate Fund towards the provision of a feasibility study for accommodation at Llancaeg Vawr Manor, and the allocation of a further £10,000 for a 12-month commercial training plan. You'll note, Cabinet, that in December 2020, we resolved to allocate funding of £50,000 seed money to the Regeneration Board for 2021 to progress concepts and ideas under the Licence to Innovate initiative. So this report today asks Cabinet to note that £10,000 Licence to Innovate funding for a feasibility study for accommodation at Llancaeg Vawr, and to include the allocation of £10,000 for commercial training plan. So the appropriate request is obviously for us to note that and to approve that expenditure. Okay. The reasons obviously for this recommendation is to facilitate the delivery of accommodation at Llancaeg Vawr, one of our premier tourism locations in the county borough, and look at that commercial training project through the Licence to Innovate Fund and through the Regeneration Board. So I move. Okay. I have a seconder.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to second the recommendations, Leader. Thank you.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Councillor Phipps. And could I invite Rhian to come in to potentially, add any more to the report that I've just moved, Rhian Kite?
Yeah, thank you, Leader.
To be honest, I think you've covered it adequately, but I mean, just to highlight two areas really. The Llancaich Fawr study, obviously, what we're finding is that Llancaich Fawr is a very popular wedding venue, but a lot of people are deterred from booking that wedding venue because they like to have accommodation. So the purpose of the feasibility report is just to build on work we've previously undertaken to look at the range of options and to understand whether or not it is feasible and viable to develop accommodation. Obviously having regard for the listed building there. And then with regards to the commercial training, there's a couple of different areas there just to be aware of. One is around commercial coaching for the management and leadership team, and the other is around hackathons and commercial training for the delivery of staff in 3 key areas in tourism, catering and leisure. But other than that, Leader, I think you've adequately covered the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rhian, and thank you for that. Obviously, this is a change of direction for us in terms of this location, so it's really exciting to see this potential going forward. Councillor Phipps, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thank you. I support both the proposals contained within the report, but I'm especially excited about the accommodation at Llancaich Fawr. And I was just wondering when we could expect to see the outcome, or sort of is there a timeline for the outcome of the feasibility study, please, Rhian?
We're in the process of procuring the feasibility study. It's just coming to conclusion, the procurement. So I think it should take about 6 months to come to conclusion. And then once we've looked at the outcome, I can do a short report back if for information if you want.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful, Rhian, you know, just to note the progress and to see where we are. So thank you very much for that. I can't see any other indications to come in. And again, this is, I think for me, the Licence to Innovate funding is such a fantastic idea. And it's about nurturing those ideas that are really, you know, that we hope to see come to fruition in many of our locations. So thank you again for this. So without further ado, there's no any other indications to come in. Can we go to the vote, please? And if anyone's having any difficulty in with the forms, please let me know. I think that's right then. That's everything. Yep, I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. On to item number 6 now then is the Cwm Ifor Solar Farm. And I'll be introducing this report. The Cwm Ifor Solar Farm proposal is a significant project requiring additional investment in order to progress to the position where there is a full business case for approval. The investment sought will enable the preparation of a planning application, including all supplementary consultants' work and reports and stakeholder engagement, procurement documentation and options for construction and specific financial modelling to enable Cabinet to make a decision on future construction of the solar farm in early 2022. So today, Cabinet, the recommendations are asked for us, asked by the Regeneration Board to agree the allocation of funds totaling 434,000 in order that officers can progress the Cwm Ifor Solar Farm project to final business case, at which time a further report will be brought forward for Cabinet's consideration. Again, this is going to extend into the future, and obviously, as we've just said, it's early 2022 in terms of the future construction. So I move the report as said and bring in a seconder, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. The Council declared a climate emergency back in June 2019, and this report demonstrates our commitment to tackle climate change. This proposal will not only create green energy for nearly 6,000 homes, but also create green jobs at a time when the economy is suffering due to the pandemic. So therefore, I'm very happy to second this report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cook. Can I bring in Mark S. Williams, please, to make any further, if there's any further comments on the report?
Thank you, Leader. As Councillor Cook just sort of stole my introduction, but I was going to start off with a climate emergency. Yeah, the authority declared a climate emergency, and as part of that climate emergency, we did indicate that we would produce a decarbonisation strategy, an action plan and a prospectus, which we have produced and adopted. Within those documents are a number of indicative projects, and this is one of those that we're starting to bring to fruition. As the leader said, this is certainly not a done deal. This is only the next stage of developing feasibility proposals to final business case level. And then there will be a further decision required as to whether we actually proceed with the project or not. So very much a staged process, because I'm sure you can imagine it's a big development of national significance, hence the fact that it would be a Welsh Government planning matter. So, it's important that we go through all of the due diligence and all of the relevant stages. So it's certainly, the decision today is only to take us to the next stage. I know Victoria Camp has been sort of eating, sleeping and breathing this for a number of months. And I'd like to place on record my thanks for all the work that her and colleagues in Regen have done on this. And if possible, I'd just like to bring in Victoria just to, rather than me stealing her thunder, because as I said, she's really lived this, just to talk briefly through where we go with this next stage. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you ever so much, Mark, and thank you for that. And again, this is, and I must reiterate the point there, you've just touched on it again as well, it's about the progress to the feasibility stage, and also then to start the consultation element. So again, this is the green light to start that phased approach. So bring in Victoria, as again, who has been living and breathing this project.
I have. The things I've learned about a solar farm. Thank you, Leader. And I've just gone down my list, and between you all, you've actually said everything I was going to say. But just to echo the comments that this really is just about moving to the next phase of feasibility, and that final business case will include, we anticipate, a range of options for the development of this solar farm, including the council taking it forward, including doing it with a partner, including the potential that we secure a planning application and then we may look to the market to see if we don't want to develop it. So this is very much just about getting us to that next phase of development, and really importantly, actually, if we do get the approval today, it's about starting that very good and thorough consultation and engagement with the local community. I know the press release has gone out there and there's a lot of community interest already, and something we really want to make sure is that we've got the community with us the whole way through. So we will be kickstarting, ahead of any statutory consultation that has to happen. We will be kickstarting that consultation and engagement with the community. We've got a range of plans, a range of things that we're going to do as part of helping us develop, what that final solar farm might look like. At the minute, we don't know how big it will be. We don't know the size of the panels. We don't know where it will be on that farm. We need the procurement help. We need technical advice and specialists to help us build up that plan. And we also need the input from the local community on what it will look like and what benefits they would like to see if we do then get the approval to and decide to proceed with the development. I could go through all of the data and the figures if you want, but I think that would be very boring for everybody, and I can talk about this for hours. So I will just leave it there. Happy to take any questions.
No, thank you, Victoria, absolutely. And thank you again for highlighting, around those points in terms of community. And I think it's really important that we do this in step with people and they understand what our intentions are here. So it's absolutely right and proper that you indicated that. Councillor Cook.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I know everyone's mentioned schemes just at the feasibility stage, but can officers possibly clear up just how far the solar farm will be from properties? As you already mentioned, there has been some concerns already raised about this issue.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor Cook. At the minute, I can't confirm that because we haven't yet appointed the consultants that will help us do the final design for the planning application. All I can indicate is that we've done landscape visual impact, high-level studies and ecological studies to look at those 4 sort of parcels of land that are on the image, with the red being the least desirable, partly because it's very close to the houses, but also for ecological reasons. We don't yet know how much of the green we need or how much of the amber we need. I learned yesterday only that the size and the shape of the panels is now much smaller and you can get more capacity. So the size that we even might need, you know, may reduce by the time we actually come to construction, you know, towards the end of 2022. So as soon as we do work through those details with the community, with members, you know, we'll hope to have some images and things that we can share, including some options of perhaps different locations where it could be within that entire parcel of land. So I'm sorry I can't give you anything more, but you know, we hope to have that detail in the next kind of 6 months.
Okay, thanks, Victoria. Thanks for that. And I think it's a really important point you raised there around the evolution of this industry and how it's changing and how it is very fast changing in terms of, you know, the products themselves. So that's interesting. You say that they could be much smaller and have improved output and all those things. So they're the sort of things, as you say, will be teased out through the feasibility and then through any project work that comes out of that. Councillor Stenner, did you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'd like to ask Victoria, could she confirm that the local members have been fully informed about this project and that they are supportive at present where we are with this scheme? I was also going to ask about intensive consultation with the local people there. However, I note that you've already committed to that consultation earlier on.
Yeah. So local members, we've had a local member ward briefing that's been held, I'd say probably every 4 to 6 weeks. I haven't tried to take up too much of members' time if I haven't had a lot to say. We've done a site visit with local members up to the site as well. And I know I've promised Cabinet one as well. I will book that in, don't worry. So yeah, we've had regular briefings with ward members who all came up to the site and were very happy with the location of the site. They've been happy with the progress to date. We've also just started engaging with community councils, and I'm due to go and present to the local community councils. And we also have a list of additional people that we want to consult with, local conservationists, local groups and things like that. But until we sort of got the Cabinet approval, if we get that today, it wasn't felt right and proper to kind of really kickstart that consultation. We're drafting some leaflets that we hope to drop. We'll be probably doing drop-in sessions, online sessions, all kinds of things. And as part of the next stage, a planning consultant will be appointed who will also partner with us then on that statutory consultation and any of the additional consultation that we're doing as well. So yeah, I've been speaking to a lot of people about it.
Thanks ever so much, Victoria. Councillor Phipps.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I'm going to say has already been said, but I think this is a really exciting proposal, and it's reassuring to know how important the consultation and engagement with the community is to you, Victoria. So thanks for that.
Thank you ever so much, and thanks for your time, Victoria. Okay, there are no more indications to come in. I think we've covered off this, and this is a significant project. You know, no doubt this is something that, you know, we need to have in our armoury in terms of tackling our climate change emergencies that we so rightly called. So thank you for that. I think if we can have the voting card up now then, please, Mark. Okay, thank you everyone. That's unanimous, and thank you very much, Victoria. Excellent, great job. Okay, on to the next item on the agenda then. This is the Audit Wales Financial Sustainability Assessment for our borough. So over to Councillor Stenner.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of this report is to present Cabinet with the Audit Wales report on its latest financial sustainability assessment of Caerphilly County Borough Council. Financial sustainability continues to be a risk for councils. A similar project was undertaken in 2019-20. The Audit Wales 2020-21 assessment of councils' financial sustainability was in 2 phases. Phase 1 was a baseline assessment of the initial impact of COVID-19 on local councils' financial positions. This phase drew on the year-end position for 2019-20, the position at the end of Q1 for 2020-21, and projections for Q2 for 2020-21. Following Phase 1 in October 2020, Audit Wales published a national summary report, Financial Sustainability of Local Government as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This found that councils and the Welsh Government have worked well together to mitigate the impact of the pandemic to date, but the future sustainability of the sector is an ongoing challenge. The pandemic has had an immediate and profound effect on public sector finances as a whole, as a consequence on councils' financial positions. The summary report sets a high-level baseline position, including the reserves position of local councils before the pandemic. It also sets out the initial financial implications of the pandemic for local councils and the scale of the anticipated challenge going forward. Appendix 1 shows the report produced by Audit Wales following the conclusion of Phase 2 of its financial sustainability assessment work during 2020-21. A report is being produced for each of the 22 principal councils in Wales. I believe there is a minor amendment to make within the report, which I'm sure that Gareth will advise us of. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 to 3.1.2, and the reason for the recommendations are to ensure that Cabinet is aware of the review work undertaken by Audit Wales and the resultant findings, conclusions and proposals for improvement. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. Councillor Whiting?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I am happy to second the report for the reasons set out by Councillor Stenner.
Thank you. Could I invite Ed in? Ed Edmonds? If there's anything further you want to add?
Morning, everyone. You can do, Leader, but I suspect Steve Harris will probably be better positioned to make some comments, and I know Mark may want to offer some views as well. Thank you.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I think the report evidences the strong financial position that the council is in at the present time. And I think it also demonstrates that moving forward, we're well placed to meet the financial challenges that we're going to face. As you know, we've put additional resources into the transformation programme. We've increased staffing capacity. We've set aside £30.2 million in our well-being and place shaping framework. And the proposals for improvement within the report are not a surprise to officers. They do align very closely with the work that we're doing on the Maintaining Financial Resilience Corporate Review. And we will keep Cabinet, Scrutiny and the Governance and Audit Committee up to date on progress through our governance arrangements. But if it's okay with you, Leader, I'd like to bring Mark in just to highlight the amendments that they wish to make to the report. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to invite Mark in anyway, so welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Leader. Yeah, there are some amendments to the report that affect potential amendments to the report that affect exhibits 4 and 5. I could share screen if you wish. I don't know whether this will work. It may help you to see it rather than me try to explain it in detail. So bear with me a second. You should see a spreadsheet pop up.
Yeah, we've got that, Mark. Thank you. It's a bit small. I don't know whether you can enlarge it slightly.
Yes. So what you see here is, and Gareth is right. Okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Gareth, who's with us today as well, has pulled this together and knows the detail on this here. But you see some marginal differences between the amended version on the left-hand side, the P column through to U, and then the report version, and therefore you will see some subtle changes. So, for example, going back to 2016-17. We're going to issue a revised report, and your ranking would go from 5th to 6th for that particular year, and some of these figures up here have changed, and therefore because of these figures changing, some of the percentages have changed. So that's probably an easier way to show you what is likely to hit to the report that we publish on our website and that we take to your Audit and Governance Committee. In a nutshell, we had to go through the data. There's a central team that had to go through the data for 22 local authorities. Quite a big task because there's a lot of data to go through. And we established with our kind of quality checks that some of the figures weren't quite the right figures, and therefore a small number of councils were affected, Caerphilly being one of them. Gareth, do you want to say anything further to that? 'Cause I'm conscious you pulled this together and I may have missed something that you'd like to mention.
No further comments on that, Mark.
Thanks, Gareth. So they're quite marginal, and you can see them there. And Gareth or I can send them to anybody who would wish to see them on this meeting, if that would help.
Okay, thank you ever so much for sharing those then. Thank you. Okay. Did you have anything further to add, Mark?
Just any questions, Leader. If there are questions out there, Gareth and myself will do our best to answer them for you.
Okay, I'm looking to see if there are any indications to come in. No, there aren't. Okay, I'm just looking down because my screen is very slow today. No, there are no indications. Can I thank you for your time today? And thank you. Obviously, we've discussed this report at length, in previous meetings as well, and aware of the need for us to look at the proposals for improvement, and to work hand in hand with yourselves going forward, and to make sure that we're in step with everything that we do in that front. So thank you both. Okay, and we're stalling just in case a hand came up. Go on, Mark.
And our thanks to officers, particularly Steve, but yourself as well, and the Chief Exec. We met and the cabinet members, certain cabinet members. So thanks to the members we met and the officers, particularly Steve, who's been and Andrew Southcombe as well, who've been really helpful with this review.
And that's really grateful. Thank you for that, Mark, because you're absolutely right, and it's about that cooperation and working together to get the report to the state that it's in today. So thank you very much. Okay, without further ado, then I can see that there are no more indications to come in. So if we can have the vote then, please. Thank you, everyone, and that's accepted. And thank you very much for your time both today. Okay, I think you're staying with us anyway, aren't you?
I think Gareth is going to stay, Leader, but I'll dial off if that's okay.
Okay, thanks ever so much for your time, Mark. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, over to the next item on the agenda then is the provisional capital outturn for 2020-21. Over to Councillor Stenner.
Thank you, Leader. The report is to provide information to Cabinet relating to the provisional capital outturn for the 2020-21 financial year. The report provides details of actual capital expenditure for the 2021 financial year and slippage that has been requested to be carried forward into 2021. The recommendation is the Cabinet are asked to note the contents of this report, and the reason for the recommendation is to ensure that Cabinet is informed of the provisional outturn of the 2020-21 capital programme prior to the annual external audit of the accounts by Audit Wales. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner, and if I can hand over to Councillor Phipps.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm more than happy to second this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I could go to Steve Harris again, please, for any further comments on the report.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. We normally take this report through the scrutiny process, but I just thought it was important that we make sure that Cabinet are aware as well as position on the capital budgets. You receive regular reports on the revenue position. You've got the provisional outturn come in on the 7th of July, but I just thought this helps complete the financial picture. And as I said, it doesn't require a decision. It is just for noting. Thank you, Leader.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Councillor Stenner.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding the slippage, could Steve slightly expand on this? And is this something that could partly be attributed to the pandemic?
Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, as it says in the report, slippage occurs for a number of reasons. It might be that there's an ongoing programme of works because obviously the capital programme doesn't always fit neatly into a single financial year. There may be delays in agreeing contractual arrangements for certain projects. And also we might be waiting to secure the full financial packages to take some of the projects forward. But in terms of the impact of the pandemic, it certainly has had an impact in certain areas, notably on the housing revenue account and the WH2S programme. Obviously, we haven't been able to enter tenants' properties to undertake the work, so that has led to significant delays. But as it says in the report, that funding will be carried forward into the 21-22 financial year to complete the programme. In relation to the general fund, yes, there is some impact from the pandemic. For example, disabled facility grants, home improvement grants, home repair grants. And again, a lot of that is because we've not been able to access properties. And also another significant area where the pandemic has had an impact will be in schools, because obviously we haven't been able to access the premises to undertake capital maintenance works. And there is around 6 million of funding being carried forward in respect to schools. So yes, there has been some impact. But just for Cabinet to be aware as well, it is my intention during the autumn to undertake a detailed review of all of the capital programme. And this will align neatly, obviously, with the proposed new governance arrangements moving forward with the place shaping board, etc. And I will be drilling down with the capital and treasury accountant into all of the capital budgets and looking to secure agreement with heads of service as to when these monies are actually going to be spent and when projects will start. And where I'm not given that reassurance, I will be proposing that some of the funding is clawed back to the centre. So look out for that one. We'll probably be bringing a report to you on the outcome of that work in the autumn. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Steve, for that. And that's really helpful, you know, sort of put it in picture, really, put in the context, rather. OK, as this is just for noting, do we still need to have a vote just to say that we've noted it, or do we just show of hands? Wasn't sure. The vote form is up. Thank you very much. OK, thank you, everyone, and thank you for that. OK, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is delivering good governance review for the County Borough. Councillor Stenner.
Thank you, Leader. The report before us this morning sets out the findings of the Delivering Good Governance Review, along with the proposed action plan for addressing the matters for consideration raised within the review. In the autumn of 2019, Audit Wales and Caerphilly County Borough Council jointly agreed to carry out a review of the Council's governance arrangements. The review was framed as a means of assessing whether the Council's existing arrangements were sufficiently well developed to support the ambitious Team Caerphilly transformation journey. The review was to include a self-evaluation by the Council's corporate governance panel against the Chartered Institute for Public Finance and Accountancy, delivering good governance in local government framework. The self-evaluation would then receive scrutiny and challenge from an external regulatory expert commissioned by the Council, before being subject to a further review by Audit Wales. The review was paused in March 2020 by mutual agreement of the Council and Audit Wales, so that the Council could focus its resources on its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In June that year, Audit Wales announced their intention to deploy their staff to support and challenge recovery planning in real time. By August, and with the pandemic response showing no sign of coming to an end, it was clear that the previously undertaken self-evaluation work was becoming less and less reflective of the governance arrangements supporting the Council's new operating environment. The Council and Audit Wales, however, remain committed to use the self-evaluation work as a basis of describing some potential enhancements to the Council's arrangements. Appendix 2 of this report sets out a number of matters for consideration for the Council that have been identified by Audit Wales, while Appendix 3 includes the Council's proposed action plan for addressing the matters. The recommendation is shown at 3.1 of the report to note the contents of the Audit Wales Delivering Good Governance Review and agrees the action plan as attached at Appendix 3. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. If I can go to Councillor Gordon, please.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. As we all know, good governance is extremely important, so I'm happy to second the recommendations laid out at 3.1.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. Could I invite, would Ed like to say anything further to the report before I go to Gareth?
Thanks, Leader. I'd love to. So members, you would appreciate we've spoken for some time about the importance of strong corporate governance. And I think this review was commissioned at a time when we wanted to demonstrate how far we'd come on that path. I think it's been a really good exercise working alongside Audit Wales, and although the original self-evaluation didn't end up being concluded, it had progressed as far as us gathering all of the documentation and the evidence that we felt showed we were delivering good governance against the framework. Because of the pandemic, we never got as far as peer challenging our views on that. We never got as far as engaging the external consultant in challenging our views on that. And we never got as far as sharing those views with Audit Wales to really have a triangulated position. So as a result of the review being paused, I think it was testament to the relationship between Audit Wales and the Council that we didn't just cast that work to one side. We were very keen to bring some value out of it and to take forward any areas of improvement that we could jointly agree and recognise. So what you've got before you is a report that was fed by that self-evaluation process, but I think more importantly has also been shaped by Gareth's working alongside us over the last 12 months or so throughout the pandemic, observing our practice, reading through the documentations and the strategies, the approaches that we've been developing. So what you've got in front of you by way of the final report and the action plan, I think feels like a recognition that our governance arrangements have strengthened, but also an acceptance that there is still work to do, particularly when you align those governance arrangements with our ambitious Team Caerphilly transformation programme. And hot off a conversation that Gareth and one of his colleagues and I had yesterday, it feels like we're heading into the space of simplifying and clarifying those governance arrangements rather than there being any significant concern. So I'm glad to see the report in front of you this morning. I hope you're happy with the action plan that's been articulated, and I think the work from this point forward is for Audit Wales to watch as we develop these improvements and hopefully in 12 months' time come back and recognise further progress again. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you, Ed. I think that's helped frame the discussion there for us. Gareth, did you want to come in and make any comment?
Thank you, Leader. And I think I'd like to reflect the fact that we've had considerable support and challenge. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. I'm suffering the same screen issues, I think. Just to draw out that the report was drafted in late 2020 and reflects the position at that stage. So, for example, the Cabinet Forward Work Programme, I would recognise that you've made some strengthening arrangements in that position from where you were at the end of 2020, and you've got a detailed Cabinet Forward Work Programme in front of you today. What we did try and do, we sought to reflect the agenda that the Council is now tackling. So when we set out, you didn't have your strategic recovery framework. The work around decarbonisation hadn't got to the level of importance that it is now, and reflecting your discussions on the solar farm today, it's really important that you have the correct governance and also the correct engagement and communication protocols around that. So it's pleasing to see the way in which things are going forward there. I think what we tried to do in the 5 areas that we identified was to try and give you a roadmap on how you can strengthen and ensure that government helps to deliver your transformation aims and objectives in a way that you will be able to demonstrate your progress publicly and how you've implemented those and actually achieved those quite ambitious aims and objectives that you set. So we haven't tried to say, we're not trying to put a handbrake on what you're trying to do. What we're trying to do is make sure that the governance process keeps you on the right direction and in the right lanes so that you actually do achieve those objectives. So that's the reason for the 5 areas that we've set out. And I think I was when we received the action plan, we could see the detail there. I think it's really important that you've set out there what you're planning to do, and I think it's about evidencing how you've achieved that, and that will come through not only the evidence of the action plan actions being done, but also those activities being delivered on a consistent basis as you take forward those ambitious plans. So I think it is about how you live those matters for consideration and turn those into deliverables. So I have no further comments, Leader, but more than happy to take any questions on the content of the report.
Thank you for that, Gareth. Really helpful. And again, as you say, this is a snapshot in time, and we have progressed things, in great detail beyond that. So, it's just about harmonising those reports, really, isn't it? And understanding where we are in terms of that roadmap. I absolutely agree. It's about making sure we're on that roadmap. We're not deviating, to other lanes on that road, because I think that's really important. And it's important that we can then evidence our outcomes at the end of it. So, I think we're all clear on that. As a cabinet, as a CMT, we are absolutely understanding that's what we need to do, and we need to formulate that plan accordingly. Councillor Stenner?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I haven't got any questions, but what I do have is a comment, and it is that, we welcome Audit Wales's input into this, and that as a cabinet and an authority, we're going to strive to achieve the objectives that were set out in the action plan. So, yeah, thank you for your input.
Thank you, Councillor Stenner. Is there anything else on this one? Did anyone have any further comments? No? Okay, there's no hands. And can I say again, thank you, Gareth, for, the cooperation and the way that we've worked forward, through a lot of this, and I know there's been a lot of dialogue over the last few months around this very subject. And, I think we've indicated to you that this is important to us, and it is something that, we strive to get right. So thank you for your cooperation in all of that. And I think, therefore, no one else has indicated to come in. So I think we're ready to go for the vote on this one. Okay, the system is a bit, that's it now. It's very slow this end. So yeah, that's unanimous in terms of, the support for this. And thank you again, Gareth, for your input today. And thank you for your time. Great.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. Okay, move to the next item then, which is the Gwent COVID-19 Prevention and Response Plan. If I can hand over to Councillor George.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of the report in front of you today is to inform Cabinet of the health protection and controlled measures that are in place to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19 in our communities. In summary, in July 2020, Welsh Government wrote the local authorities and health boards to ask that they prepare a joint local COVID-19 prevention and response plan. The guidance issued at the time was being revised, and the Welsh Government wrote to local authorities and health boards on May 2021 requesting the plan be updated. The updated COVID-19 prevention and response plan is attached at Appendix A for the Cabinet's consideration. Before I move on to the recommendations, can I have it placed on record my personal thanks to Rob and his team for their contribution throughout the pandemic. They have been and continue to be a credit to this authority. If we move to the recommendations, it is recommended that Cabinet consider and endorse the updated COVID-19 Prevention and Response Plan. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor George. Can I go to Councillor Cook now, please?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm very happy to second this report, which describes organisational structures that are in place across the Gwent region with roles and responsibilities to reduce the risk of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Councillor Cook. Rob, would you like to come in to add anything further to the report?
Yes, just a little bit. Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor George, for your positive feedback. I will obviously that will be minuted, and it'll mean a lot to the teams, and I'll also make sure that we feed that back. So as Councillor George has set out for you, and as you can see attached to Appendix A to the report, there is this is a it's an 80-page plan that does reflect comprehensive partnership arrangements that are in place across the region. It's now a local resilience forum plan. We have heavily relied upon local resilience forum structures as part of the partnership response in the region. From where I'm sat, that has worked extremely well. There are extremely strong relationships in the region. You'll see that the plan addresses surveillance, sampling and testing arrangements, prevention measures, including communication and engagement, and putting out messages about social distancing and promoting compliance. It touches on our approach to enforcement, local authorities and the police. Obviously, the vaccination programme is described in there. We talk also about our approach to managing arriving travellers, and the work that we put in place in terms of high risk settings that we've identified and the relevant controls that are in place there, together with the way that we respond to clusters, incidents and outbreaks, and how we escalate those arrangements in circumstances where there are wider impacts. And so, as Councillor George has set out, we present this plan to ensure the Cabinet are fully informed of the arrangements and seeking your endorsement of the plan as set out in Appendix A. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Rob, for that overview there. And again, it goes without saying that we give our thanks to all the staff that have been involved, because it has been an immense journey for us all. In terms of the workload and the shift that we've had to take on, and the fact that people volunteered for specific roles as well within different departments to help support the whole programme effectively. But for me, this is such a comprehensive update plan from the Gwent LRF. So I think it's really important that we endorse this today, and I'm fully behind it. Councillor Cook.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I want to give my thanks as well. I didn't give earlier, and I apologise for that. But my question is regarding, as lockdowns and restrictions ease, is there going to be added pressure on local authorities in Gwent to carry out both COVID enforcement and public protection functions? Is Caerphilly, do we have the resources to carry out both functions?
So it is a challenge. We have found, as we've gone into lockdown restrictions and as we've come out, those times have been particularly challenging for our teams. We've had some 36 different sets of regulations. We've had sort of periods of perhaps weeks where we've been in a fairly sort of stable environment, and that has been we've been able to kind of get used to the status quo. The way that we've rearranged ourselves is, and actually we presented a report at Scrutiny last night that reflects on a lot of activity across the public protection teams in the last financial year. But the way we've sort of arranged ourselves is that we have environmental health officers, obviously, who are specialists have specialisms in public health matters. So they've been at the forefront of the public health response, so supporting schools, care homes in particular, working with health board colleagues and consultants in communicable disease control to manage cases and clusters that we see in the county borough. And also, as you'll be aware, we have a dedicated contact tracing team, so they work closely with that team as well, again to manage cases and clusters and to get on top of that. As a consequence, they have sort of naturally deprioritized other aspects of their work. What we have done with other public protection teams is they've kind of stepped forward into the enforcement space that you're describing. So principally, that has been led by, not exclusively, but principally led by our trade and standards teams, but also with support from colleagues in licensing. So where we've been inspecting routine visits and checks and compliance checks, or where we've responded to inquiries about supermarkets and car washes and workplaces, and then it's those teams that have been working in those areas. But again, it has meant that they either deprioritized or simply turn their attention away from other aspects of what we might call the day job. We have had some additional support in that we've taken on, so we had an environmental health officer seconded from private sector housing. We did have another environmental health officer from corporate health and safety who's just recently returned back to corporate health and safety, because obviously there's important work there. And we've had an additional environmental health officer on a fixed term contract, and she's still with us. In addition, Welsh Government made some other, gave us the opportunity to draw down funding for additional enforcement resources. So we have a few they're sort of ex-police officers. For example, we have a few members of staff who are with us on short-term contracts. You'll be aware, and I think it's referenced in the plan, that we're relying on the COVID hardship fund to meet the costs of those elements. Currently, that is only in place until the end of September, but we continue to make representations to Welsh Government around that because we can still see a requirement moving forward through the rest of this financial year. And I know that Welsh Government ministers are actively discussing this, and I'm hoping that imminently we will get a decision from Welsh Government that that funding will be in place through the rest of the financial year.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that. I had a feeling that it had been approved in terms of extending it to March, but I could be wrong. There was a rumour.
Oh, right, okay. Well, you're better connected than I, Leader. We have had our so TTP funding, so funding for the contact tracing teams has been extended to the end of March, but that's a separate fund.
Of course.
So it's the COVID-19 hardship fund we're still waiting.
Yeah, I will look into that. Okay, thank you ever so much, Rob. I appreciate you running us through that. And obviously our position today is to endorse the updated Gwent COVID-19 prevention and response plan. So I've got no other indications to come in. So I think we will go to the vote on endorsing that. So thank you again, Rob, for bringing this to us today. And thank you for all your work. Okay, just waiting for those results to come through. Okay. Mine is a bit slow. Mine's stuck on 6 votes. Has everyone voted? Okay, 7 now. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. That's unanimous, and thank you very much. And thanks again, Rob, for your time today. Okay, well, that concludes all the items on the agenda for today. So can I say thank you to everyone? And that I will draw the meeting to a close. And if we can stop recording. Thank you, Mark.